Today we're going to solve proportions. The learning target: I can solve equations using cross multiplication. Cross multiplication is the new thing we're going to do today, although I'm sure most of you saw it in part 1 last year. Freshmen saw it at Luther in Math 8. So we're going to start with the definition of a ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two numbers. So for example, if you're baking a cake, you might need 3 cups of flour and 2 cups of sugar. So another way to say that is to put it as a ratio, which is always a fraction, and say we have 3 parts flour to 2 parts sugar. A proportion is we compare two ratios. So a proportion is an equation comparing two ratios. There's always an equal sign in between. So originally we had 3 parts of flour and 2 parts of sugar. Let's say we were baking 4 cakes and we needed 12 cups of flour. So to get from 3 cups of flour to 12 cups of flour, we multiply by 4. What do you think we would do to get, if we started with 2 parts of sugar and we were baking those 4 cakes? Well, if we multiplied by 4, we would get 8 cups of sugar. And those two ratios, 3 over 2 and 12 over 8, are equivalent. So now we're going to do something we call the cross products property. So we have a formula there, 2 ratios, A over B and C over D. The cross products property says if A over B equals C over D, then we can multiply A times D, and it's going to be equal to B times C. So we multiply the numerator of one of the ratios to the denominator of the second, and the denominator of the first with the numerator of the second. So let's do that with regular numbers. So we have if 3/4 equals x over 16. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with, I'm going to circle 4 over x, 4 and x, the denominator of one and the numerator of the other, and then the numerator of the first and the denominator of the second. That's 3 and 16. If you notice, we have 2 ovals here, and some people think of this looks like a butterfly, and they call this the butterfly method. So what we have is 4 times x equals 16 times 3, or 3 times 16 if we go in order. And simplifying, we have 4x equals 48. And then we divide both sides by 4, and we get x equals 12. We can only use this property to solve proportions. Whoops, I spelled that wrong. It's proportions, P-R-O-T-I-O-N-S, proportions. Remember to use parentheses if there is more than one term in part of a fraction. In a second, we'll go over some, in the next video, you'll go over some sample problems.